Hello. Today I just want to kind of wrap up our unit about waves and introduce weather and climate. So just a brief review, kind of recap of some of the things that I was hoping to teach during the wave unit. First one, the electromagnetic spectrum is a series of transverse waves that carry energy. So I have a picture over here. We learned that some waves carry a lot of energy, like gamma rays, and some waves carry a little energy, like radio waves. And then there are several types of waves in between those two extremes. We also learned about visible light. It's just one part of the spectrum, just this tiny little sliver right here. But visible light waves are really important to humans. They allow us to see colors, and it's because of these visible light waves that we can see anything at all. We also learned that these visible light waves can be reflected. They can bounce off things. They can be absorbed. They can be soaked up by materials, and they can be refracted, which is bent. When they move from like air to water, for example, we saw that straw that looked kind of like it was broken. So light can do some really cool stuff. These other waves, we can use tools to see them, and we know they're there from different tools that we use, but we cannot see them with our eye. And then the last part, it's not on that spectrum, but it's a wave as well. It's called a sound wave. These are also carrying energy, but they do it in a longitudinal way, so they kind of act more like this. There's rarefactions and compressions. Unlike light waves, sound waves cannot travel through empty space. The frequency and amplitude of sound waves, depending on how tall they are and how big their wavelengths are, changes the pitch and the loudness. So that's kind of some big ideas from waves. There's, like a lot of things we've learned about this year, so much more to know. But that's a little introduction. The next thing I'd like you to do is kind of think about our weather and climate unit. Some people confuse these terms and they use them like they mean the same thing, and they really do not. They are definitely related terms, but they are not synonyms, and they do not mean the same thing. So weather is like daily. So on Monday it's going to rain or something like that would be an example of weather. It's the daily state of the atmosphere in a given place, like in Lakewood, Colorado. This is what it's like outside today. This can include things like temperature, wind speed, and wind direction. Also if it's raining or snowing, something like that. So I'd like you to find an image showing weather, the day-to-day state of an atmosphere, and then use that term in a sentence, please. Climate. Climate is the average of weather conditions over a long period of time. So I might say, every year in March in Colorado, we expect it to be one of our snowiest months because it has been for like the last 30 or 40 years. So we look over time and we can use that information to make some predictions. So what would be a picture that could represent this big picture of climate being like the average weather over a long period of time? And then please use that term in a sentence. And the atmosphere is really where this is all happening, in the lowest layer called the troposphere. So the Earth is surrounded by this layer of gases, and it's called the atmosphere. The atmosphere is very important to life on Earth, and it does many things to help protect life and help life to survive. Space is about 62 miles from Earth's surface, so we have this 62-mile layer, and it's actually broken up into many different layers, and we'll kind of look at that later. But it's really important for this weather, especially that lower layer, the troposphere. So kind of looking at those two terms, how are those two terms different from each other? And feel free to look this up some more if you're not entirely sure. There's a lot of information out there to read. But how are the terms weather and climate different? And then they also, like I said, are related, so they are also similar. So tell me a little bit about that. And then just some questions to get you thinking about why we should care about this at all in the first place. Do you consider yourself a nature lover? Why or why not? And then weather really does affect us all, what we wear, if it's sunny or anything like that. So what type of weather do you like? It is interesting to think about how weather affects us and the decisions we make, and even to some degree our culture, because we eat different things depending on where we live, or we might dress differently depending on where we live. So I have a few pictures here. And then that's it. So all done. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. And I hope you're doing well and taking good care of yourself, and hope your family's doing well. Miss you guys. Take care.